What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy, the network remix. Today's topic is section 3.31C Charlie, private AS or autonomous system. This is a section in the exam CCNP route exam code 300-101 is going to be known as the CCNP enterprise exam. Let's take a look at the exam blueprint, see where we came from and where we're headed. Here we go. Exam blueprint implementing Cisco IP routing. Exam code 300-101. It is the CCNP route exam. In the future, it'll be known as the CCNP enterprise exam. This topic may or may not transition into the new exam. Most likely it will, because this has to do with BGP, and that is the main, practically the only routing protocol on the internet. We just wrapped up the section 4-byte AS number. We are going to do private AS, and after that, we are going to just explain BGP attributes and best path selection. Now, this is a topic, I believe, it's like a real CCIE topic. That's why they said they just want us to explain it. We don't have to really do any configuring. Anyways, what is a private AS? A private AS is, well, you know, an autonomous system. Routers are grouped in autonomous systems, right? Your autonomous system could be your corporate network. It could be your business, a large network, an ISP or internet service provider. It could be a university where it has basically your network, and networks on the internet are assigned AS numbers, right? Now, let's take a look at this slide right here that explains the group of AS numbers, right? We discussed the AS numbers in the last video, but I want to show y'all this again. So these are the ASN ranges, right? AS numbers is a value between 0 through 65,535, right? 0 we can't use because it's reserved, right? These are the ones that are publicly issued by the IANA, right? 1 through 64,495. Then we have these that are reserved for documentation. That last one is reserved. Now this one is what we're concerned with right now. Private use, 64,512 through 65,534. Well, this concept is similar. The private use, private ASNs is similar to the concept of private IP addresses, right? We have private IP addresses that ranges from like the 172 range and the 192.168 range, right? Those are private IP addresses, right? Well, we also have private AS numbers that are reserved for just private use, right? Now, if you have your autonomous system and you given yourself a private AS number, these are actually routable on the internet, but they get removed off the internet. So I guess technically it's not routable. That's something you'd have to do manually, actually. We just don't want, it's just that these private ASN numbers are not globally unique, right? So you can, let's say you have a private AS number of 64,513, right? Another company could also have that number because it's a private number. It's used for private use. We did that to kind of, I guess, to kind of recycle the ASN numbers or preserve the usage of these, right? Just like we did with IPv4 addresses. Without reading all of this to y'all, this is basically a definition of or describing what private AS is. But I just highlighted what's really important here. Private ASN can be seen on the global internet, right? Right here in the red. This is not good. We don't want to see your private AS number on the internet. It's just like we don't want to see your privates in the public, right? Over here in the green, I highlighted this because this is really important. You can also configure the software to remove the private AS number from AS paths, right? And this is something I'm going to show y'all how to do in GNS3. It's just one command. It's really easy, but I'm going to show you, the reason why we have to do it. Obviously, because a private ASN can be seen on the global internet. We don't want to see your private AS on the internet. We don't want to see your privates. So here's an example of removing private AS number, right? We got the BGP. Again, the private AS number range is from 64,512 through 65,535. As it is private, it is not globally unique. So that means if you have one at 64,513, another company can also have that. So that can cause confusion, right? Now, let's take a look at this topology right here, right? And notice it says the internet service provider is required to strip private ASN off the BGP update to the eBGP peers while announcing the routing information over the internet. One best way to perform this is by using the command to remove the private AS remove the private AS number. So we got this one that's sitting in router 1. The router 1 that's sitting in AS 64,512, right? That is a private AS number, right? If it gets to the ISP, which is in AS1, right, he will see that 64,512, right? But he will put the remove private AS command And once he gives that update for this network or this ASN, AS2 is going to not see that. He will see something else. He will see, like, I believe, like AS1 as the next hop. And I'll show y'all an example of that again on GNS3. Here is how we check the BGP table, right? Show IP BGP, and you can see the path, just like yeah, you can see the path that to get to a specific network, right? So with this right here, we got a 100 100.1, right? The next hop would be 23.23.23.1, but the path to get there is 1, and then you cut through to 64.512, and then you make it there, right? That would be like your destination right there. But obviously, this is a private ASN number, 64.512, right? I'll show you the ranges again. 64.512 through 65.534. These are private numbers. We don't want to see this on the internet. Since this is in the path, we use the remove private AS to remove that from the AS path right here, from here. Once we do that, you will see the output changes it to 1 as in its path, even though it's really, to get there, it was 64.512. As you can see here now, the output implies router 3 is getting that prefix from an ISP, but the user's AS has been included in an AS path, so just adjust it. I don't know where I got this from, but yeah, we basically removed the AS number and put a 1 there. So let's go ahead and fire up GNS3 and play with removing private ASs. Pause. All right, here's the topology here. Shout out to gns3volt.com. You can download the topology from there. I will also leave a link in the description and the comments below. So we got here 4 routers, right? One sitting in AS1, the Emperor router. We got the Emperor router Czar sitting in AS2. Then we have router Kaiser sitting in 65.503. Pop quiz. What type of AS number is that? Danielle, do you know? It's a private AS number. And 65.504. What type of AS number is that? Do you know? Do y'all know? That's right. It's a private AS number. We can't see these numbers on the internet. So what we're going to do is we're going to propagate these ASs through the network, right? But we want to remove these ASs, and I'll show you how to do that. But first, all IP addresses have been configured, so we've done that. We need to configure eBGP between AS1 and AS2, which sits right here. Then we need to configure eBGP between AS2 and 6503. Then we need to configure eBGP between AS2 and 65.504. So let's go ahead and configure eBGP between all of these guys. I may or may not cut this part out. Let's console into, or actually we need to power all these guys up. Then console into router Emperor. Happy hour at Steak and Shake, y'all. Make sure y'all get those half price for your shakes. What days are those?
Monday through Thursday from 2 to 5.
Monday through Thursday, 2 to 5. Y'all check it out. Shake and Shake. I don't know if it is like that in your area. Anyway, so we powered on Emperor. We're going to go to user exec mode or privileged exec mode, and we're going to go to global config mode. We're going to configure BGP router. BGP, he sits in what? AS1, right? AS1. That 1. His neighbor is going to be this guy who sits in 192.168.12.2. That's the neighbor, right? 192.168.12.2. The remote AS, router Czar, sits in AS2. 2. And we need to go to Czar and do the same thing. So let me close these guys out. So we're in router Czar. We're going to go to privileged exec, global config mode, and we're going to do the same thing, and hopefully BGP comes back up, right? We're going to say router BGP, he sits in AS2, right? And his neighbor, I don't know why I typed that way, is this guy, who is 192.168.12.1, right? 192.168.12.1. Remote AS sits in AS1. All right, so BGP should come up shortly. While we're doing that, let's go ahead and configure BGP between these two guys right here. So we're going to go into Czar. Oh, we are in Czar. So we're going to make him a neighbor, this guy right here. neighbor 192.168.12, no, 23, and BGP is now up 23.3, right? 23.3. And then the remote AS is this guy right here, 65.503. That is a what? Private ASN, right? And 65.503 is a private ASN, so we're going to do that, 503. Hopefully BGP comes up after that, so we're going to do the same thing going the other way. So we're going to go to Kaiser and make them enable global config mode. Router, he sits in BGP ASN 65.503. His neighbor is ZAR, who's 192.168.23.2. Remote AS, ZAR sits in AS2. Right? BGP should come up very shortly. While that's coming up, we're going to configure BGP between these two routers right here. So we'll go back into ZAR. Hopefully the other neighbor comes up. Neighbor. Let me move that guy out of the way. I hope y'all was able to see that. The other neighbor is this guy right here. 192.168.24.4. 192.168. There's the other neighbor coming up. 24.4. The remote AS is right here. 65.504. 65.504, which again is a private AS number. Now we're going to go into Caesar and do the same thing. Privileged exec mode, global config mode, router. He sits in AS number 65.504. His neighbor is ZAR, who sits in 192.168.24.2. The remote AS is AS2. Now BGP should come up between these two. So now BGP should theoretically be configured between all four routers. Let's go into ZAR to verify that. Show IP BGP sum. Just two neighbors. So we're still waiting on another one. Oh, we didn't make ZAR. Did we do that? Yeah, we did. 23. This is the 24 network. We did not. We did not. So that's what we got to do. We got to go back into router config mode. BGP 2. Oh. Jesus. Configure terminal. Router. BGP 2. Neighbor. 192.168.24. This guy 24.4. Remote AS is 65.504. Yeah, I thought I did that. It's right there. Okay, so BGP should be up now. There we go. So we did do that already. BGP should be already up. So let's verify that with a do show IP BGP sum. And there we go. So now we've got three neighbors for ZAR, right? His neighbors are this guy, and that guy, right? Okay, so notice how the ASs are being shown here. He's saying that 12.1, that guy sits in AS1. We've got this guy sitting in AS 65.503, which is a private ASN, and this one sits in 65.504. That one right there, right? This one sits in 65.504. The next things he wants to do is to advertise the loopback 0 interfaces on router Kaiser and Caesar. So we need to advertise those loopbacks, right? Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go to Kaiser. Let's see what the loopback is, right? It's quad 3. So we're going to say neighbor. No, we're going to use the network statement to verify that or advertise it. 333.0. Mask is 255.255.255.0. And we're going to go to router Caesar and do the same thing. Advertise loopback on that guy, which I believe is quad 4, but let's verify that. Do show IP interface brief. And yes, it's quad 4. So we're going to say network 000.4 because this is actually a /24. So that's why we're doing that. So mask is 255.255.255.0. So now he should be advertising those networks. What's the next thing he wants to do? Ensure AS1, which is this guy right here, sits in AS1, does not see the private AS numbers, but has connectivity to the 333.0 network and the 444.0 network. Well, let's see what he sees so far. We're going to go to Empire, or Emperor rather, show IP BG. Let's do a show IP route first. Okay, so he has routes to the 3 network, right? So he has routes to the 3 network, and he also has routes to the 4 network, right? He has a route there, and he has a route there, right? However, they said they don't want us to see the private AS numbers, but still have connectivity to loopbacks. I'm going to do a show IP BGP, and you can see this is the BGP table. To get to the 3 network, it says the next hop is 12.2, right? Which is that right there, 12.2, right? But also, it says here that the path is AS2. It says the path to that is AS2 first. So you go to AS2, and then you'll make it to 65503, right? So we could see the private AS numbers basically on the global internet is what we're simulating here. We don't want that, right? So how do we do that? We use the remote AS command that I was mentioning before. I didn't put it in the slides, but I'll show you guys how to do that. First, we want to go to the router that is advertising that path to us. So in this case, we're going to go to ZAR and remove that AS, remove the ASs. We're going to say remove the ASs that are giving, remove the private ASs that are given to Emperor from ZAR. So we're going to go say our Emperor is our neighbor, right? He is 12.1, right? So we're going to say neighbor 192.1, neighbor 192.168.12.1. He is in remote AS. He is in remote AS1, right? And we're going to say remove. Actually, this is what we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to do remove private AS, and that's all we're doing. That's it. Simple as that. So now to remove the private AS, let's take a look at the BGP table. It's still there, right? It's still there. Well, that's because we're looking at ZAR. Duh. Let's go to Emperor and see if we can see it now. Show IP BGP. It's still there. It's still there. Why is it still there? We need to reset our BGP process. So let's go ahead and do that. Clear IP BGP star. BGP goes down, comes back up. So essentially BGP has bounced. We'll check the BGP table. And now we only see the AS path of 2. So it says to get there, you can take 2 and then you'll make it there. That's basically what's going on here. So we no longer see the private AS numbers that we were seeing before, right? Remember, we saw the private ASs here. Now we no longer see them in the BGP table. But notice it says here, we still need to have connectivity to the 3 network and the 4 network. Do we? Let's see. Ping quad 3. Okay, we don't. Well, let's see. Can we ping our neighbor here, ZAR? He's 12.2, right? Can he ping this guy who is 192.168.12.2? I'm sure he can. Ping 192.168.12.2. And yeah, we got a reply. However, what's going on here is these loopbacks are being advertised, but the 12 network is not coming back. It's not being advertised to them. So they don't know how to get there, right? So let's go ahead. He told us to advertise the loopbacks, but he didn't specifically say go ahead and advertise all networks that's sitting in this topology here. So let's go into Emperor and see if we can advertise the 12 network to our to these private guys, right? We're going to advertise the 12 network to these guys right here. So that way the loopbacks know how to make it there. And we're going to say, we're going to go back in the global config mode. Router BGP, what am I doing? Network 192.168.12.0. Mask is 255.255.255.0, right? Because it was /24. Yep, it was /24. Now let's see if I should have seen if they was able to see those networks. Anyway, so let's do this. Let's see if Emperor can ping the loopbacks now. Ping 333. And yeah, so Emperor can now ping 333. Can he ping Caesar? 4.4.4.4. And he can. Those worked. That's all it called for. But let's see. I don't know why. Let's just see if we can get these guys to ping that guy directly. I'm gonna go. Let's go into Caesar and see if Caesar can ping Emperor. Probably because, oh, you know why? Because these are loopbacks. We would have to do an eBGP multi-hop, I believe. We'd have a lot to do, and that's not what the point of this point of this activity is. That's all I got for y'all today. That's my YouTube page. That is my Twitter handle. Go ahead and hit me up. If you want to see some more of this stuff, please go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. That will let you know when I put up more videos. If I make any mistakes, please put a comment below. Let me know what mistake I made. We're all learning here. This is a collaborative effort. Thank you for watching the network.